Welcome, everybody, to a live at the table podcast webinar with the Texas Restaurant Association. I am your co-host, Joe Monastero, the Chief Revenue Officer of the TRA.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ben Noor. I'm the VP of Strategic Initiatives. Joe, it's good to be back. I feel like it's been a while.
It is, and it has. And we don't often get to do the on-camera podcast style, but with this particular topic today, we felt that it made a lot of sense for us to do it. But we're going to stick with our At the Table podcast format. So for those of you joining us, we have three guests with us today. We'll be introducing each of them individually, having a little conversation with them, and then we'll bring everybody together literally at the table to talk about our topic, reputation management and what it means to you, the secret sauce to driving traffic and revenue. So buckle up, join in, be ready for participation in the conversation as we get to be at the table. We'll be doing a lot of talking with each other, but by all means, throw questions into the chat and throw a few things towards our guests. They are members like you who are here to share their knowledge and their wisdom and help make all of us better operators. So with that, Ben, what do you think? Should we get started?
We have a stellar lineup of guests today, so yeah, I think we shouldn't wait any longer. Let's give the people what they want.
I think that makes sense as well. And we'll be bouncing back and forth between slides. So anybody who's listening to this as a podcast, there is a link in the podcast description so that you can download the slides and take a look at those. So to get us going, we're going to ask Mark Davis Bailey to join us here at the table. Mark is the co-owner of the DFW area's original Pancake House franchises. Renowned for its exceptional quality, its welcoming atmosphere, and care for their employees, the original Pancake House has earned the recognition of being one of the great places to work for multiple years running. Mark is a respected industry advocate. He has served as a past chair of the Texas Restaurant Association Board of Directors, constantly championing initiatives to support local businesses and elevate hospitality standards. Mark believes restaurants are more than dining spaces. They're pillars of the community and culture, and I couldn't agree more. Through his leadership and his mentorship, he supports a variety of charitable causes, continues to inspire positive change in the industry, and it's that dedication to excellence, to great food, good service, and good company culture that, as he says, culture eats strategy for breakfast and has left a lasting mark on our culinary and hospitality landscape. So Mark, if you'll turn your camera on and unmute, we welcome you to the table.
Here I am.
Well, hey, Mark, welcome. Good to see you again. Quickly, just briefly share everyone with your journey of how you got to the restaurant industry and what it means to you.
Yeah, so it's a pretty circuitous journey for me. And by the way, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys and for the kind introduction. I appreciate that. But yeah, this has been a long journey. I started in the food service industry in college. I went to Texas Tech and I started working in the cafeterias there and eventually worked myself up to student manager of the largest cafeteria on campus. And I did that for several years. It was very interesting to me, and I really enjoyed it. It was work that I really loved. And so then I graduated architecture, design, and construction. And I interned at that, worked at that for quite a few years, and then went for my master's degree in international business. And I got halfway through my master's degree and wound up getting recruited to move to Asia. I lived and worked in Asia for 6 years.
Wow.
And along the way, when I was interning in Dallas, I started eating at the original Pancake House. It was only one at the time, and it was a very small location, which doesn't exist anymore. And I was just really impressed with the quality of the food. And the owner and I became friends. I went there almost every day before work and met with him and enjoyed the circumstance and then went to work. And then I pitched him to do a second restaurant. And so I was able to put some money into that. I was the architect and the contractor on that restaurant. So now there were two. Then that's when the time I moved to Asia and he wound up building two more and I invested in the fourth one there. So at the end of the day, I had minority ownership in two of his four restaurants. And I came home on a sabbatical after 6 years. I hadn't been home to the States in 2 years. And he approached me and asked me if I wanted to buy him out. He was ready to retire. And I am pretty much an entrepreneur at heart. And even though I had a fabulous job in Asia, just fabulous job, I went ahead and bought the restaurants, put the acquisition down together, and 35 years later, here we are.
I would say for everybody who's ever enjoyed having, a Dutch baby at Original Pancake House, they thank you for coming back and doing that, and for expanding the extent that you have. Lord knows, anytime we're up in Dallas, that's a definite stop. Either on the
We
way
use
in
it as
or
an
on the way out.
appetizer, Joe. Yeah, every
Yeah,
time we go there, it's
exactly.
an appetizer.
Mark, I mentioned in your intro, your motto, culture eats strategy for breakfast, and the
Yeah.
fact that Original Pancake House DFW has been named one of the great places to work now for multiple years in a row. And that's quite an accomplishment. That's not an easy accreditation to receive. Can you just share with the audience, what about your philosophy, has contributed to this success? The idea of the employee being such an integral part of
Mhm.
your overall revenue strategy, and how does it impact your overall customer experience?
Yeah, well, that, like most things in my life, is also a circuitous journey, I would call it. It took a while. I've always been a believer in coaching. I guess I started, with coaches in elementary school and high school and mentors, and in college, I was a competitive gymnast and had a really good coach. And so when I got into business, I felt it was the same thing. So I started seeking out mentors and just qualified business coaches. And from there, I started taking some leadership classes, and I encountered a group called Stagen. And Stagen is mentioned in a book called Conscious Capitalism. It was written by John Mackey, who's really co-founder of Conscious Capitalism. And I got to know John and read the book, and it just makes a lot of sense to me. It is built on 4 tenets. One is having a higher purpose. So really, your company is more than just trying to make money. And in our case, it's to positively impact people's lives and their thinking. Then there's a stakeholder orientation of understanding your community and your vendors and your lenders and your guests, and a very important stakeholder, your associates, your employees that work in the company. And then it's really having a conscious culture. One of the business coaches I had said, what you really want for a successful business is a very thick, deep culture with a very thin rule book. And
Very, very accurate statement.
yeah, I like that. And then conscious leadership. It's all about the leadership in the company. And so I just went through a journey of that. I went to several conferences throughout the years, meeting lots of very highly successful business people that are doing good work in the world. And I finally encountered Great Place to Work certification. I met the CEO of that, and we talked and visited. And Great Place to Work is a way to codify and draw metrics on it can actually measure culture. Culture is a very nebulous type thing. It's very hard to do. It's very squishy. And Great Place to Work certification helps you quantify that. The items that you're good at, what you're good at in your culture, what is lacking in your culture, and so forth. So we're now, we've just had our 4th year of accreditation from that organization. Last year, we scored a 94 out of 100, and Fortune magazine picked us up as one of the top small and medium-sized businesses to work for in Texas. And it's I've always said, I think I could stand here all day and tell you how good our company is, but I could be lying. I think what really matters is when a qualified third party says, yeah, these guys are good. This company is good. And so that's what I strive for.
Thanks for sharing that, Mark. It's clear that you found the secret sauce within Original House of Pancakes, and it's also clear that with your extensive background and your connections, that you're doing something right. And so, if we flash forward to business today, for those aspiring restaurateurs that are out there listening, what advice would you give someone thinking about opening a new restaurant?
Yeah, I do mentor students and stuff. I participate in those things with Steve DeShazo and so forth. And I always tell people, get a business coach and join
Yeah,
a restaurant association. When you
We
know,
like that. Thank you.
thanks for the plug there, Mark.
it's that was a journey also, because when I started in the restaurant industry, the association was very different back then, and they had these kind of automated salespeople, and I just didn't get it, and I didn't understand it. And then eventually, I got talked into joining the organization, and the organization, I think, transformed. But I found myself able to sit down next to people like Chris Pappas, who
Yeah,
owns hundreds and hundreds of restaurants. And I could sit there and ask him, hey, here's what confuses me, or who do you use for HVAC or this or
right.
that? And I just met a really fabulous collection of people that were willing to help me. And I think they were a very important part of our journey and our success, if we've had any success.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think our industry shows that we're stronger in numbers and that you can learn from one another. But Mark, we appreciate you, and we're going to continue with our next guest, and we'll bring you back at the table here shortly. So we appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir.
And thank you so much for your insights and of course, your service to the association,
Yeah,
making it what
absolutely.
it is today.
Well, I have the pleasure of introducing our next guest, Margaret McCoyne. She is the owner of the Time Group, a premier marketing and public relations firm renowned for delivering innovative strategies and measurable results. With expertise in strategic communication, brand management, and event planning, Margaret has built a reputation for helping businesses thrive through tailored, impactful campaigns. A passionate advocate for professional growth, she mentors emerging talent and champions initiatives that foster collaboration and community. Margaret's dedication to excellence, creativity, and relationship building has solidified her as a trusted leader in the marketing industry, leaving a lasting impact on her clients and the business community. Margaret, welcome.
Well, thank you so
Indeed.
much for having us as part of this today. It's very exciting.
Absolutely.
And we're excited to have you here. So thanks for joining. To kick things off, Margaret, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everyone, you do quite a lot across our entire industry. You've been very involved in our local chapters and the state foundation. As a marketing and PR firm, what attracted you to say, we're going to specialize in supporting restaurants and their marketing and PR needs?
Well, a couple different things. One, my background prior to starting my own agency in 2000 was telecommunications, and our conferences and so forth, quite frankly, were kind of boring compared to others. And when I started my own agency, I was like, I really think I want to join an organization, a group that, one, is very philanthropic. I personally support 41 nonprofits. So that's kind of our secret sauce of taking the restaurateurs and cross-marketing them with charities and nonprofits that they're passionate about, and that way they get all free PR and access to their social media and their email databases and all those kind of things. But when I went to my very first conference after being in telecom for 18 years, I walk in, and I believe it was Houston, and it was like this huge giant arch of fruit and marshmallows, and there was this giant chocolate fountain, and it's like, hallelujah, it was like, wow, this is the way to do a conference. These people really know what they're doing. So as I got more involved, volunteered for everything, every committee I could do for fundraising, events, marketing. It just became so obvious to me that this group of individuals who are so focused on their community and their employees and just giving back, it was a place I wanted to be involved with. And so everywhere I go now, I'm such an advocate for joining the association and getting on a committee. And, I'm a part of Tarrant County, Dallas, the state level. Also, I'm on the board with the Hawaii Restaurant Association, and
Oh,
I
wow.
started the Dubai Restaurant Association.
Yeah, well, that's all fantastic, Margaret, and it's proven that you have a true passion for the restaurant industry. Now, looking back on your career, can you share a story with us that stands out for you as memorable, maybe not just for how unique it is, but for how you supported the restaurateur's handling of that?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a funny one. Mark will probably get mad at me for this one, but
Hey,
Go
I
for it.
saw I saw so many people that were so humble and so into helping each other during COVID. So a large part of what we did was help restaurants close down, then open back up, support only, 25% and things like that. And during COVID, when we were closed, and Mark closed five out of the seven restaurants for a little while, and we had to very quickly switch over to pick. I asked him to dress, it was Easter, and I asked him to dress in a bunny suit and hand out the to-go orders.
no.
So he was out by the highway waving in his bunny suit. He was handing out the to-go orders in the bunny suits. And again, he's going to kill me, but I do have photographs to prove it.
I was going to say we need photographic evidence, or it didn't happen. It may have to appear in this week's newsletter just to give everyone something to smile at.
We,
But
we,
that's perfect.
yeah, I was gonna say we can send that. We can send the pictures in the follow-up email to this recorded podcast too, if you want.
Absolutely. 100%. Our third guest on today's episode of At the Table is the co-owner of Effortlessly Pizza, a beloved Texas-based pizza brand celebrated for its fresh ingredients, exceptional service, and signature thin crust pizzas. David Cole's leadership has helped Effortlessly expand its footprint while staying true to its core values of quality and community. He's a dedicated entrepreneur. He has a hands-on approach, and that has helped to establish Effortlessly as a go-to choice for pizza lovers across the state. I was personally happy when it finally delivered to my house in Austin, and then they stopped. But you know what? If you complain to the man, he fixes it, and now they delivered to my house again. So
Look at
that
that.
works. In addition to his work with the brand, he is currently serving as the chair of the Texas Restaurant Foundation Board of Directors, supporting the education and workforce initiatives that the association drives for the hospitality industry. He has a passion for great food and community. It shines through in every aspect of his work. And if you don't know him, just be prepared, everybody, and buckle up. He's got a little bit of a wicked sense of humor that he brings to everything he does. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Be nice to us, David, please.
What'd you say, Stash? I'm
Be
sorry.
nice.
What'd
Be nice to us. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. David, how about you share everyone with your journey to the restaurant industry and what it means to you?
Well, I was born in a dumpster behind a Chinese restaurant when I was like 5 years old. Not really. I started in food service. My first job with a Social Security card was making donuts at 4:30 in the morning before school when I was 15 years old. Then graduated high school. I went to work for my uncle, Joe Campese. And those that don't know that, the Campese family are the ones that brought pizza to Dallas. So
Yeah,
started off on a
great
pretty
spot.
strong concept, worked my way all the way through that restaurant. We only had female servers at that time. So I had to leave Campese's to learn to wait tables. So I went to another Hall of Honor of the Texas Restaurant Association owned business. The Southern Kitchen was owned by Mr. Sorwhitey, and they were a seafood house that the restaurant only sat 500, and then you could build it out to another 350 people. So we did a lot of banquet work and whatnot. And that's where I learned my how to wait tables. And the whole time I was going through the culinary program of what is now Dallas College, El Centro campus.
Yeah.
And soon after that is when my brothers and I got together and opened Effortlessly in 1987.
And you've been doing it ever since. That's awesome. So, David, I want to give you a really specific question that is less about our topic today, more just about the industry in general, but it's something that you'll have a very unique opinion on. You've been doing pizza delivery back since the days when it was really just you got pizza delivery, right? And now we have, through direct and last mile and third party delivery, this explosion of off premise being a significant part of almost every restaurant's revenue mix. And you've watched this whole thing happen really from the inside. What's been something that stood out to you or has surprised you as this delivery off premise movement has grown to be so large?
Yeah, it's been crazy the last 4 going on 5 years now. That yeah, it was pizza and Chinese. If you wanted to get some delivered, you know, a chef oriented or a chef run restaurant had they wouldn't even do takeout, much less have someone that they don't know come in and take their food and carry it to someone that they had never seen before. So the third party delivery, the online ordering apps have completely caused us to wake up actually and figure out why we do not charge for delivery. So why would someone pay extra fees to get our pizza delivered when they can get it for free? So it's a lot of juggling of ideas and whatnot to try to stay ahead of everybody and stay, you know, every restaurant has to do something to stay significant. But when your delivery is 85% of your business, and now every restaurant delivers, it's something to actually pay attention to and try to stay ahead of everyone.
David, I think that's a good segue to our next question for you. You know, looking back on the past couple of years, you know, just for those other restaurateurs out there and aspiring restaurants as well, what would you say has been the greatest challenge that your company has faced?
Probably paying our bills.
Yeah.
So first it was we're delivery, so we got to stay open. So we did fine during the shutdown almost 5 years ago. That was fine. Well, then you had everything that happened because of the shutdown, which was, you know, there was no school, so there was too much milk. So then the cows quit producing milk. Well, then cheese goes up. Well, if you're going to sell pizza, you got to have a lot of cheese. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, then if you're going to sell pepperoni, then those are made in, you know, a manufacturing plant, and everybody had to be 6 foot away from each other. So that shut down operation because no one knew how to do their job. So the supply chain was crashing. The costs were going up. People were still scared of having humans make their food for them that they didn't know. And we had a lot of customers asking if you would deliver the pizza and just set it outside. Well, that's not real good in March and April because you don't know what the conditions are. So we had to learn how to do that type of job as well. But the hard part was nobody wanted to work with people. So the workforce, the cost of food, the supply chain, it all came crashing all at one time. Thankfully, we had the leadership that we have now at the Restaurant Association. So we did get things figured out pretty quickly compared to everyone I know across the country. So things were a challenge, but you know, if you're in the restaurant industry, you better be ready for a challenge every day. You know, before you open, you turn your lights on, you could have a flood in your dining room and you have 10 minutes to clean it up. So we couldn't feel sorry for ourselves. So we just kept on pushing on, and finally we're climbing out of it. So we're doing good.
And actually, if you combine the last two things you talked about, really, coming, it occurs to me almost every interview we did about a commodity impacted your world. There was the tomato shortage, the cheese shortage, et cetera. This is the most fundamental ingredients that are on every single pizza that goes out your door. And yet coming out of that too, you have a much bigger competitive landscape than you did certainly 5 years ago, and definitely more than 20 years ago. I think that ties really nicely to our topic. So we're going to invite Mark and Margaret to come back to the table and join us as well. And Ben, do you want to introduce our topic for today?
Yeah, so this is the exciting part of our live podcast. This is why we're here today. So back to the table with all our guests to discuss the importance of managing your brand's reputation, not only online, but how the work you do internally with your employee and company culture can dramatically impact public perception. At the end of the day, public perception and reputation can directly drive or can negatively impact your top line revenue. Mark and Margaret have branded to get together to create M6 Degrees, an organization partnering with restaurants to look how they manage their reputations, improve public perception, and drive more top line revenue. Joe, I don't know about you, man, but I'm excited for this.
I am too. I think this is really important in a world where everything is super competitive and every single penny down to the bottom line really matters. Then when you can do something that's going to affect top line revenue as well, and get kind of out of that conundrum of traffic isn't where it's supposed to be. Well, more traffic is going to be more revenue, and that's going to take us where we need to go. And so just to kind of kick things off, Mark, I'm going to toss it over to you. But so you and Margaret got together, you created M6 Degrees as a consultancy partner for restaurants. How did you come up with the idea, and what do you hope to accomplish with helping restaurants manage their reputations? Why is that such a big deal?
When you say come up with the idea, you mean for M6 Degrees?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's another bit of a journey. I started diving into the world of marketing quite a few years ago, particularly digital marketing, and trying to understand how we could leverage ourselves in this technology, in this digital space, this digital environment. And I went to a lot of conferences, sat in on a lot of panels, talked to a lot of experts, and just tried to understand things as they happen. And Margaret was our CMO, or it still is our CMO. And so she and I have been working on marketing for quite some time. And finally, we encountered a technology that made so much sense to us, and that is understanding your review rating. This buzzword search engine optimization that people SEO talk about, and it's this also nebulous thing that everybody has a different opinion how to do it and what. And what we come to find out is that Google actually does SEO for you. And I think the important thing, the best way I can demonstrate this is when you want to go to a restaurant, you pick up your phone and you type in, like in this case, I did sushi near me.
Yeah.
And up pops a map. And that map displays your review ratings and your volume of reviews. And I think what's important about the key realization there is that your phone is how people find you, but those ratings is how they choose you over your competition. So that became a years long or several years long journey of Margaret and I understanding how do you impact your ratings? How do you do that? Well, you have to have software technology that gets into the reviews and really digs into them. And you got to kind of reverse engineer the thing to get back to how do I impact ratings for my restaurant so that I rise above my competition. And so we've learned through trial and error a lot of really effective tools and techniques to do that. So we kept helping each other, and I kept helping Margaret with her other clients, and she kept continued helping the Pancake House. And finally, we just felt like we could create an organization that could help more restaurateurs avoid all of the mistakes we made for so many years trying to figure out how to do that. I mean, I think can help people.
Yeah, Mark,
That's perfect.
yeah, that's fantastic insight, and I think that tees up our next question. And Joe, thanks for putting this on the screen regarding the Google is the big gorilla, and I know Google reviews play a lot plays a big component in our world whenever we decide to eat at restaurants. I guess from M6 Degrees perspective, and David, I'd love for you to chime in here as well. How do Google scores and reviews play in attracting new customers to a restaurant? Anyone can take this one. It's open for discussion.
Well,
And I would say Mark or Margaret, definitely the point on this slide that really stands out to me is this idea of your lifetime score and how high you need to have it and why that score matters. You
yeah.
know, this isn't the days of getting a newspaper review from the local food editor anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you see an example of an Italian restaurant there that has an amazing 4.9 out of 5 and 1,600 reviews. I mean, that's a very strong presence in this digital landscape. Those people are probably just covered up with guests and so forth. And then one below them is still a 4.8 with only 191 reviews. So they don't have the volume, but they still have a very nice score. So this is what people are attracted to. If you have two restaurants of the similar cuisine and one is a 4.7 and one is a 3.7, which one are you going to go to? You're going to go to the 4.7 every time. So that's what's impacting your traffic and your revenues. And that's how important this stuff is.
I think that's a good place for us to start in talking more into the nitty gritty about how M6 helps restaurants, right? And knowing that that's going to pop you up on the list first, knowing that it is something to look at and not just get frustrated. I used to hate reading the early days of reviews, and I would see someone talk about something they didn't like, and instead of taking it and reacting to it and owning it, I kind of look and go, they're not a food critic. They don't know what they're talking about. Everybody's a food critic today. Everybody has the power of their voice in the digital world. So how do you guide your restaurant clients to look at, something like this and understand really manipulating that rating? It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. And so a lot of restaurateurs, and we were guilty of this years ago, is basically you have like your niece or your nephew is doing your website and your social media. And then you get a review in or a set of reviews, but you really only respond to the really bad ones. When somebody maybe gave you a 1-star or a 2-star, you only responded to. Practice is for you to respond to all of your reviews. And in our case, on our restaurants, we get 200 to 250 a week. So we use an artificial intelligent agent to respond to those things. But if you go back to that slide a second, I think it's really important to point out what this is trends from, I believe, 22, 23, and 24.
Yep.
It's the 6 major segments of our industry, of the dining industry. And what you see is everyone except for family dining is trending down, which means they're not improving over their lifetime score. Their lifetime score is going down. That's bad news for those segments, but it's good news for somebody who knows how to improve their ratings.
And to put just a really fine point on it, Margaret, what is the financial impact for somebody changing their score, right? If I have a 3.5 today and I have a 4.0 tomorrow, it's not just a feel good feeling, right? Like, what is that doing to my top line revenue?
Well, the black box information is right on, and we're seeing it track and trend that way. eFatelli, for example, we're seeing up to $30,000 a week as they continue to improve their scores. With 17 restaurants, that could equate to $1.5 million just from us going from a 4.0 to a 4.7, and they're trending right now to do that.
Margaret, that's you just teed me up for my next question, because I'd like to hear from David himself too. David, it's clear that you've seen some pretty impressive success with M6 degrees. What was their method to help eFratelli?
Well, first of all, I didn't know I was getting involved with Mark Davis Bailey. I was only hired Margaret. So once we got over that hurdle, things were we had a lot better attitude towards this system. But the main thing is it's so fast. We didn't think about reviews. We didn't do reviews. Margaret helped us get, first of all, we bought into a loyalty program. So once you start getting, thousands of people in 4 months join your loyalty program, then you ask them to do the reviews, and then that's when everything starts. But nothing is really going to happen unless you get your staff and your crew on board. So we've had several meetings with all of our managers, and we're comparing them to each other about who is actually asking people to give reviews. Are they handing out? We have review cards. We have all 17 of our locations have a QR code. So if someone just can't use one of the QR codes and review everybody, you have to review that one. And don't think we didn't try to cheat, but Google has a lot of specific rules and knows when you're trying to pack. So these reviews are actually really worthwhile, not just, trying to stack the deck on your side. You really can't do that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think, and it shows here, depending on where you are in the type of service that you have, what changing your rating is going to mean. No, it's not just the packing peanuts of get every server, bartender, cousins, college roommate to get in and give a review, but actually to work your existing customers, attract your new customers, and get them to help you get there. This is a little chart about what happened with you guys. So I'll throw it back to you and Margaret if you want to walk through us a little bit. It looks like all across the board you've been striving to make improvements, but tell what has made it mean for eFratelli's.
I'll go first, David. I think the most important part is that the managers have bought in. We're putting stickers on a box, every single pizza box that goes out the door. The managers are just really engaging when they're talking on the phone. But the most important part was really show them where they were and where they want to go. And once David and Mike explained to them the goals, they really jumped on board. And as you can see, we're halfway there of having 100% of their stores all at 4.5, and we're very close to 4.7. 4.5 really just gets you in the ball game. It will put you in the search where you'll come up, but 4.7 makes you competitive, and 4.9 puts you at the leader of the pack. You don't have to pay, tens of thousands of dollars in SEO to stay on the first page. And eFratelli particularly uses all this information for customer satisfaction, and they have something called complaint strategy. And once they see information back from the reviews, then they kick in with that. And that's how it's been so easy to get them moving from 4.5 to now 4.7. And we're excited to say, unless somebody else on the webinar today really kicks it in, that they will probably be the first franchise group in the nation to have 100% of their locations on at 5.0, and we're striving to do that within the next 12 months. And not only does that make the company-owned stores more valuable, but what about if you're selling franchises and you can bring in a franchisee and say 100% of our franchises are at 5.0? That's pretty exciting.
That is, and I'm going to just pause there for 1 second, let everyone who is live with us today know that if you'd like to ask a question of the group, please feel free to drop it into the webinar chat. and we'll incorporate it into the questions asked of our panelists. In the meantime, I just want to recap really quickly because you hit on three really important points there, Margaret. And I think it's for everybody who's either on live with us today or listening to this later, why this all matters. So number one is engaging your team to be part of this process, to give an active role to your managers and to the team, and knowing that they can help to influence this to help drive that result. Number two, that the system itself, we all know about Google and SEO, and whether we're above the fold, i.e. you're showing up on page one of the search results, but make sure I get these numbers correctly. You said a 4.5 gets you in the game, 4.7 is a
4.7
sweet spot,
competitive.
4.9 you're winning, right? So that's doing some work. Not everyone thinks about that. And if you go look at your Google ratings today for your restaurant or restaurant locations, and you're seeing that you're below 4.5, then you're not showing up at the top of those searches, and you got a little bit of work to do. But to hit 5.0 across the board is great. So kudos to Effortlessly for following along the method and putting in that work. David and Mark, both your organizations have been following this model. How has it been received amongst the employees? What are you doing as you're evolving this method, but really driving that 5-star experience? It's a real tangible thing that you're doing.
Yeah, what it does, it's an impact to your culture. And that's what you want. Again, it took a while for both David's company and for ours to get managers, and in our case, servers, to understand how important this is. And so we again, we just went down a few blind alleys and then figured out what it takes to get them to understand that. And then they become excited about it. And they love contributing to getting our organization up to those higher levels. In our case, we're 35 years. We have thousands and thousands of reviews backlogged. So for us to move the needle, we have to know how many reviews we get every week, what percentage of them are going to be 5-star, and how many it's going to take to get us up to that 4.7 and that 4.9. And we now know how to do that. We have the algorithm to understand that. So we run contests and we get people to understand. But yeah, like this slide says, we get 200 to 250 reviews a week, and we've shared with TRA those weekly reports.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood of 95, 96% of them are 5-star reviews, and we seldom ever get 1-star or 2-star anymore.
And when that does happen, I'm gonna actually throw it to David. So you've empowered the managers to review these, look at them, respond to them. How do you today now handle the negative review as part of this improvement to your online reputation and all of what it then begets for you?
Well, first of all, I have to tell the attendees and the listeners that Mark has said that he's 35 years old twice already. Well, we're 38 years old, Mark, so you don't have as much experience as we do on this, even though you've talked to all the experts and all that. So,
If anyone hasn't figured it out by now, these two have known each other
he's
for a
still a little
minute or
further down
two.
the bench than I am. But, it's when you get to the age that you can play sports, the first thing they do is teach you, keep your eye on the ball. Well, you have to learn that every once in a while, even though you're 35 or 38 years in the business. So this is a new object to keep your eye on the ball. And so, like the managers, you call them in and you say, hey, we got something new responsibility we need you to focus on. You're going to get some eye rolls and some shoulder shrugs. But once they see the strategy that Margaret helped us put in place and the results, then that's when their eyes lit up. And now it's somewhat of a competition. But yes, if you only have 100 reviews and someone gives you a 1-star review because they don't deliver in my area, which has nothing to do with real service, then, we still need to reach out to that person. And we reach out to every one of them. And what we try to do is, as soon as the complaint or we get the bad review, we try to get that turned around before the end of that business day. So whatever it takes, give it away, give them their money back, whatever it is. But, we teach our managers that you're not the judge or the jury or the executioner. The customer is who you're supposed to serve at all time. And depending on the person that is that manager, it takes a while for them to take that culture on. So hopefully, not only do we get them to continue to be a customer, which is really the base, but also turn that review into a 5-star review.
Thanks,
So you've
David.
been rewarding your team for doing this, right? Like how have you incentivized them? Because these are some pretty impressive results.
Yeah, so we have some things that we've done. We've given out, really, Margaret's given out prizes and that sort of thing. We have new uniforms for only the people that get the 5-star review. We're putting into place that, everybody has to have a hair restraint. So we wear caps or hats in our facilities. So we're coming up with a line that they get to wear their own individual style hat or cap, and then we'll put on it whatever they want so that they have that. Then we can use that for, the carrot for the rest of the managers to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, we'll send out key takeaways after this live episode, but I think definitely one of them is that we all need to make sure that our employees buy in, and it sounds like Effortlessly, an original House of Pancakes, is doing that. It wouldn't be at the table without a storytelling session, so I do want to take some time to give you all an opportunity to tell a quick story. David and Margaret, there's a specific story, I believe, tying into salt that you all dealt with at Effortlessly. Do you mind sharing that story with us real quick?
Yeah, I'll take that one, and then David can back us up on this. But very quickly, we monitor all the 4s and 5-star reviews and respond to them. And then if a 3 or 2 or 1-star review comes in, the managers are immediately notified via text, email, and then a phone call if necessary. So on one particular day, within about a 15-minute time frame, we got 3 reviews about pizza being saltier than normal in a specific location. We immediately contacted that location, and sure enough, some salt had got put in the wrong place, and the pizzas were a little bit saltier. And they went into their complaint resolution, immediately sent out new pizzas to those 3 people. But here's the most important thing: they do over 1,000 pizzas a day across all 17 locations. Had they not been monitoring that information and us not contacted the store, can you imagine how many people could have been affected? And many of them would have just never ordered pizzas again. So the
Yeah.
positive stuff is really good, but being able to help the operations team immediately with an issue that can turn around and be positive is even better.
We'll talk about nipping an issue in the bud before it expanded to the masses. So that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that, Margaret.
That definitely avoided putting more salt into the wound, pun intended.
Ah,
Margaret,
wow.
you mentioned something here that is very important about M6 Degrees and the platform that you have developed. So for the manager who has 1,000,001 things going on in a day, how much of this is automated? What do you guys bring to the table to help a restaurant put this into action?
Well, the really cool thing about the platform that we use, it consolidates all of the social media platforms into one dashboard. So our people can immediately, really within minutes, they're responding. And in the old days, you might have one person that only answered the negative reviews. Now every single review is answered within an hour, and we're talking thousands of reviews. The platform has AI built into it, so, and it's very accurate. I would say it's 99.9% accurate, unless somebody uses a slang word every now and then. But even then, we still have human eyes that look at every single review before the respond button is hit. So just again, using the technology that's available to us now just makes it so easy. And it's very affordable too. It's $99 a month to have access to the platform. And then if you don't have anybody that you can utilize in-house to do it for you, then we'll do it for you for a very low fee. So it's affordable and it's accessible, and again, you can see the benefits of it.
So did you guys program the AI for Effortlessly to respond in David's tone of writing every time a review is responded to?
No, we would go to jail if we did that.
See, everybody does know each other here. I'm going to jump real quick. There's a question that came in from the audience, from Carrie up in the earning area. We've talked a lot about Google. Obviously, this platform is automated, helps to manage your reviews and your overall rating on Google, which ultimately drives revenue. Do you all see this at some point broadening beyond just Google ratings and tying into things like open table ratings, which are immediately asked for the second the system knows you've left the restaurant after going somewhere where you made a reservation?
I can start with that. Yes, pretty much anything that will do a, AP to the platform can be integrated. It does have Yelp, TripAdvisor, all of the third party, DoorDash, Uber Eats, anybody that gives review, the Reward Network. Just about anybody that gives reviews can be linked into the platform.
Yeah, we don't use
That's fantastic. So it's really comprehensive.
Mark?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, at Facebook, Instagram, any LinkedIn, any place where somebody leaves you a review, it can pick it up through its open API.
Thanks, Mark. And just for the sake of time, as we're approaching our 1 hour mark, because we do have our signature question coming up, but we do like to leave our listeners with some best practices. So what advice would each of you give to an operator feeling totally overwhelmed by all of this, best practices, et cetera? I know there's some items on the screen here, but would love to hear it firsthand from the three of you.
Well, to me, yeah, the data and the reporting is significant. It really is, and that can be overwhelming to people. But we manage that, and we coach on that. We can even do it turnkey for you. But I think it's all understandable. The first thing you need is a market audit. And the purpose of that is to establish a baseline across all channels. What are your review ratings across all channels? Google being the most important one. And then you get into what kind of reporting, what do you want sent to your managers? What do you want sent to your district managers, and so forth. And then the calculation that I mentioned previously, where, okay, if you're at a certain level and you need to get to a better level, we can measure how many reviews you're getting in on a weekly basis, what those reviews are, how to improve those reviews, and how to drive a higher volume. And then we know how long it's going to take you to get to your target score. Keywords, the software, they give you the top 10 things that guests are saying about you that you do right. And they also give you the top 10 things that guests say you need to work on, that they're unhappy about. Teaching you how to incentivize your team and your culture so that they understand the importance of this and they're working at it. And then, as Margaret mentioned, leverage the AI. So we're now responding in real time to every single review that comes through. That just matters a lot to guests, that they get a response. And then grow your loyalty program, survey your guests, and grow your database.
It sounds like you've got the perfect complete circle there, and that's really what it's meant to be, right? And as you manage those things through, and then obviously looking at those results, and I do love the way that you guys have put your team at the center of this, right? You're empowering them, the ones who are dealing with people right at the table, to be a part of this process. So it's no longer like, oh, marketing's off doing this thing over here. They're right there at the front lines. That's I think it's an important piece of what makes this automated platform also really different in what you can do. And I think the SALT story is a great tie right back to that.
Yeah, and this slide is, the fact that really no amount of software is going to change your rating unless you're delivering a quality experience for your guests and your associates. And associates, again, that's the team. It's got to be, you're not just focusing on your guests, you're focusing on your team, and that's how you're impacting your culture.
Perfect bow on that. And I'm just going to put this up here as we go into our last question. So M6 Degrees, which offers its automated platform, is offering a 25% discount for the first 100 TRA members that start to engage them, starting with a market audit. So you can reach out to Mark and Margaret, either via this email or visit their website. In the meantime, as we always do at the table, we have a final question we ask of all of our guests. And it's got a two-part answer. So we're going to ask you, what is your favorite ingredient? We need two answers. One, what is your favorite ingredient to cook with? And then two, what is an ingredient you believe is critical to success? And so, ladies first, we will start with Margaret.
Well, first of all, I joined the Restaurant Association because I don't cook and I'm surrounded by lots of fantastic chefs, thank goodness. So I would have to say powdered sugar because I would say you could sprinkle that on top of everything. And I find that serving up a little sweetness when you're dealing with people, whether it's other vendors or competitors or guests or anyone in the marketplace, kindness and a little sweetness goes a long way.
Perfect. And as far as a follow-up to that, I think, just because of the snickering alone, we're gonna have David go next. The
Well,
king of sweetness right there.
Yeah, my favorite ingredient is always going to be garlic, not garlic. Actual, peel it, mince it, let it set 15 minutes, let it breathe, then add it to your entree or to your recipe. But as far as ingredient, mine is relationships. Be personable and make things fun. I'm pizza delivery now, but I grew up in the restaurant industry and working the floor, and the contact with your employees is probably the greatest joy that one can have in a day's work.
Makes sense.
Well done.
Mr. Mark.
Yeah, for myself, I'm not big on favorites. I hate to be a showstopper there. I like it all. I really like all walks of life and all kinds of things. But I was raised on the border of Mexico, and I really like jalapenos and chilies and spiciness in my cooking and my food. I like that a lot. And then ingredient for success, to me, I would just reiterate conscious capitalism. And I think they have a nice roadmap for building a strong company. We have what we call an associates first culture. We would never treat a guest better than we treat the people that work in our company. And so I think it's very important to focus on your internal culture.
Appreciate that. That's perfect. And that nicely ties everything together. Again, we've been talking about the importance of reputation management, the M6 Degrees platform. It focuses on your Google rating, but it integrates, as Margaret just mentioned, all of the various different review platforms together. And it really helps to drive your revenue at your top line, bring in new customers, and know that the experience you put so much time and effort into delivering is reflected accordingly in your digital presence, and that translates to dollars at the top line and eventually at the bottom line. So if you're interested for more information, visit M6 Degrees website. Just one of the many partners the TRA brings to you to help you be a better operator and run more efficiently. Huge thank you to Mark, David, and Margaret for being with us on today's live At the Table podcast webinar. Ben, what else do we got?
Yeah, I think that wraps it up, Joe. This was a phenomenal session today. I'm really glad we were able to do this, and hopefully everyone learned a little something.
Totally agree. And this will be available on our YouTube channel if you want to watch David smile and smirk a lot. You can also listen to it on our podcast channels across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and directly through our website. So don't forget to go there and subscribe. And then we will be sending out a follow-up email about M6 and the information that was presented on today's show. And thank you all for joining. We'll be back with another episode of At the Table soon.
Until next time, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you
Good job, y'all. Thank you, guys.
much.
Thanks, y'all.